Day 3 of Green Bay Packers training camp is upon us, and unlike yesterday, it's not pouring rain today. So we have a bunch of highlights to react to and break down today from today's practice. It was yet another unpadded practice. The Packers have a rest day tomorrow, and then they are back at it on Friday. And I believe pads either come on Friday or Saturday. I'm not exactly sure which day, but I know pads do come on later this week. But nonetheless, like I said, we have a lot more clips from today, as yesterday didn't have that many due to all of the rain. I will also be releasing a day 3 recap right after this video, going over all the main takeaways from today's practice. You don't want to miss it. Definitely check out that video after this one. It should be up about an hour after this one releases. If you happen to be a new viewer, definitely go down and click that subscribe button to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers during training camp. I'll be posting videos every single day the Packers practice, so if you want to stay in the loop with everything that happens for the Packers during training camp, go down and hit that subscribe button. All right, so let's waste no more time and dive right into the video with our first clip. Here we have Michael Pratt doing that coveted quarterback rollout drill that the Packers love to do. We haven't heard much of Michael Pratt. It's kind of been all eyes on Sean Clifford, and it hasn't gone too well. Sean Clifford hasn't practiced too well the last couple of days, including today, which is probably his worst practice. Yesterday wasn't great, but you could chalk it up to a lot of the rain. Today also wasn't great, and there was no rain. Day 1 wasn't that bad, but we haven't heard much of Michael Pratt. We did today. We actually started to hear, what Michael Pratt's doing with the second team offense, which is good because this is a quarterback battle for quarterback number 2. Sure, Jordan Love isn't back yet, but this is a battle for quarterback number 2, and I know a lot of people like Michael Pratt, the potential there. And if Sean Clifford continues to have a ton of mistakes, Michael Pratt could definitely steal that quarterback number 2 spot. Speaking of Sean Clifford, here is a clip of him doing a scramble drill to the left. The issue with Clifford, and yes, he's been going against the number 1 defense, so he's used to being the number 2 guy going into the number 2 defense, so it's definitely a step up, and that's probably why he's having issues or not, performing as well, but he's having a lot of interceptions during 11v11s. He's throwing a lot of interceptions. I think Eric Stokes had 2 today, a really nice practice by Eric Stokes today. But we saw back in OTAs, he had interceptions. We saw, yesterday he had like 2 interceptions, and then today, I think 3 interceptions. So definitely struggling in camp so far. As I said, if Michael Pratt continues to impress, he could earn quarterback number 2, and then the Packers could either practice squad Clifford, maybe trade him or something of that sort, because they're probably only going to keep 2 quarterbacks. Another big piece of news is that wide receiver Jayden Reed is back. Here's him running a warm-up drill on a quick slant. He was out the first 2 days of training camp with a toe injury that happened during his youth camp, but it was said that it was nothing serious, and this replicates that. Jayden Reed is back at camp. Here's him running a corner route. Again, such a shifty wide receiver off that inside release. A nice little like rocker step with a body fake to the inside, then cutting outside. Yeah, it's just a warm-up drill, but you could see why this guy gets open when it's real time against real defenders, because the intricacies of running a route, Jayden Reed just does them all very, very well. And glad he's back at practice. Glad that injury wasn't serious. Tay Wicks has been filling in for him as like the 3rd wide receiver per se, and has been doing really well in practice so far. The Packers just have such a massive group of talented wide receivers, and I can't wait for Jordan Love to come back and start to get to work with all of these wide receivers. Here's Christian Watson running a slant route off an outside release, really hoping he could stay healthy, and these hamstring issues are in the past. Obviously, he went to Madison this offseason and noticed that he had a strength difference from leg to leg, and they're trying to even that out more, and that's why he was having so many hamstring injuries. So I'm really hoping that's in the past. He's looked good so far in camp in terms of staying healthy. He did have some drop issues yesterday, but again, it was pouring rain. He wasn't wearing gloves. But overall, excited to see if Christian Watson can stay healthy through the duration of training camp into preseason, and then, of course, into the regular season, because if he can, this guy is super dangerous. He has sky-high potential, just like a lot of the other Packers receivers. This Packers wide receiver room, guys, is just so deep. Here's, again, Christian Watson and Jayden Reed catching passes from Sean Clifford and their new 3rd quarterback or 4th quarterback, Jacob Eason. Let me know down below who your top 2 wide receivers in terms of stats will be for the Green Bay Packers in 2024. Personally, I have Tay Wicks and Jayden Reed. Those are just the 2 guys that I really like in this room. I like all of them. and I think all of them can be like the #1 guy week in, week out, like random weeks. It could be this guy, another week it could be another guy. But I think at the end of the day, in terms of the 2 top guys, in terms of yardage and whatnot, I think it's going to be Jaden Reed and Tay Wicks. Let me know down in the comments below who you think it'll be. And man, we are so back because we have a slow-mo video of A.J. Dillon. I feel like every single training camp, there's multiple slow-mo videos of A.J. Dillon just slamming into a sled, and this is no different here. And he looks a lot slimmer. Matt LaFleur said it yesterday that he's in some of the best shape he's ever seen him in. He looks a lot leaner. He looks quicker. He had a nice run in yesterday's practice where he just looked a lot quicker than we're used to seeing, and it does look like that. A.J. Dillon looks a lot leaner. I mean, the dude is absolutely ripped. Looks like he did a helmet update too. I think he's wearing an Axiom now, which is pretty interesting. But wouldn't be training camp without a slow-mo A.J. Dillon video. Here's the same drill, but new running back 1, Josh Jacobs against the blocking sled here. Going to be important for these running backs to be able to pass block. We know how important that is for the Green Bay Packers in terms of their running backs being able to pass block. If you can't pass block well, you're definitely not going to be out there on 3rd down, and you're going to see limited snaps if you can't do it because, you know, it's very, very important for these running backs. And Josh Jacobs hasn't been the best pass blocker in terms of a running back the past couple of seasons. A.J. Dillon's been solid. Last season wasn't great, but other than that, he's been solid. But nice seeing Ben Sermons and the Packers, you know, coaching staff, you know, really working into these guys to get this pass blocking down for the backs. Here we have an offensive lineman clip. We have Jacob Monk and Josh Myers doing kind of a blocking warm-up drill out of the center position, or at least Josh Myers taking a snap here. Elgton Jenkins in the background, not practicing today, not due to an injury. It's a veteran rest day for Elgton Jenkins. Expect this to happen a lot with him. Kind of that similar schedule that we saw Bakhtiari on when he had his knee issues. Just not as serious. Obviously, Elgton Jenkins is fine, but giving him his veteran rest due to his, you know, prior ACL injury is probably the smart thing to do. But Josh Myers and Jacob Monk here. Myers has been center #1 all of camp, although Elgton Jenkins has taken some snaps there, and Monk has been playing as center #2. Then to wrap things up, we have a couple clips from Jair Alexander. Excited to see his potential bounce-back season from 2023 working against Carrington Valentine here. Valentine also fighting for that cornerback #2 spot, but man, it is definitely Eric Stokes' job to lose. He had a hell of a practice today. But again, excited for Jair to potentially bounce back. You know, definitely a down year in 2023 in terms of injury and poor play, and I think he's going to feast on this new Jeff Hafley scheme. Here's Jair again working on a trail technique, man coverage, watching the hips of the wide receiver, or Carrington Valentine in this case, in terms of double moves, working on that as well. So really hoping Jair can bounce back, stay healthy mainly. That's kind of the big thing. I think a lot of his poor play last year was based off of him not being 100%. And then, of course, the Joe Barry defense. I mean, he really didn't let his cornerbacks play to their game, and I think Jeff Hafley is going to do a wonderful job at that because he's a former defensive back coach where Joe Barry was a former linebacker coach. I think Jeff Hafley is just going to mesh super well with our defensive backs, especially Jair Alexander. I mean, he is so back. He's the leader of this defense, or one of the leaders of this defense, and I'm excited to see what he has in store for 2024. So that does it for all the highlights I have from day 3 of Packers training camp. Like I said, the Packers are off tomorrow. Sadly, it's a rest day tomorrow, but they're back at it Friday, then Saturday, then Sunday. So, of course, be on the lookout for all the videos coming out during those practices as well right here on this channel. But I appreciate you guys coming by to the channel. Go down and click that like button if you did enjoy the video. It supports the channel a ton, and it's absolutely free to do. But I'll catch you all in the next one, and as always, go Pack Go.